All right. Hi, everyone. How are you today? I'm super excited to be here with you today. Before we start, can you tell us a little bit more about where you are tuning in from? Sorry, where are you based? Is it in Canada, USA, Europe, Asia? Tell us. We're gonna wait for 30 seconds for people to tell us. Victoria, BC, Canada, wonderful. Toronto, Ontario, Montreal, lots of Canadians. Great to see you all today. So, welcome to Hoppier's first webinar of the year, Secrets to an Engaging SKO. So, I'm your host today. I'm Thomas Parek, the Director of Marketing at Hoppier. Hoppier is a really cool platform that enables event planners to treat everybody to lunch and drinks during virtual events with virtual smart Visa cards. And I'm joined here today by Katrina Spadaro, Director of Event Marketing at Dataminr. Katrina, first question, obviously, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And I would love, and I think everybody would love to know one piece of information that not that many people know about you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me, and thank you to everyone who's joining us this morning. A little bit about me. So, I've been doing events for 10 years. I never meant to do events, it's just something that I fell into, and I've always worked in the tech space, ended up at B2B SaaS companies. So, I've seen a lot of different events globally that I've put on for, a lot of different tech companies. And so, it's been exciting to get to plan SKO for Dataminr. So I guess something that not many people know about me, during COVID, it's been a transitional period, and I ended up moving to San Diego from New York City, and I got really into hiking here. So that's something that I've just been enjoying and getting outdoors during this crazy time of the pandemic.
Amazing. It's really great to have you here today. I'm also a fan of hiking, and as we were talking about just prior to this event, it's a really fun activity. But I'm personally from Belgium, but I'm actually talking here to you from Montreal, and it's minus 14 degrees, which is like 6 degrees Fahrenheit. So hiking is possible, but a little bit tricky with this kind of cold.
I bet.
So, before I ask you my first question of today, I actually have a question for the audience, a little bit of housekeeping rules too. So, if you have any questions during this event, two options. You can raise your hand, and then I can bring you on stage, and you can tell us what your question is. Second option is you go to the Q&A, so you have the messages, and then you have the little chat windows here on the right side where you can ask your questions, and then we can display your that question on the stage as well. So if you have any questions for us, feel free. We want to make this super interactive. We'll talk here about how to host a really amazing and engaging SKO. And right after, we'll have the opportunity to meet each other, either talking around those virtual tables that you have used prior to joining here, or you'll also have the opportunity to join a one-on-one networking session. So, as I said, I have a first question for everybody here. It's this one. What is the goal of your SKO? Is it motivating your team, aligning the sales team? If you're running a cross-department SKO, is it about aligning different teams, or is it about deciding on projects and goals? So, if you want to go to the poll question, the poll section, and answer this, please go ahead. We would love to know here what is your main goal, showing appreciation as well. And if you have any other goals in mind, like feel free to also share that in the chat. So motivating my team, aligning the sales team, aligning different teams, and showing appreciation. Cool. Thank you so much. And I'm now going to ask this question to you, Katrina. What is the goal of Dataminr's SKO? What is the main reason why you are hosting this really cool event.
Yeah, I mean, I think a sales kickoff is great for any organization. At Dataminr, we started it 3 years ago. That's where we were as a company. It was time to start getting our entire sales team together, especially from a global standpoint. So, looking at from just an event, it's something that we want to be motivational. We want people to have fun. It's a great way to just like level set and get everybody together. A lot of times you have new hires during this time of year, so it's a great time to bring them in and engage them with all the different units within sales. And so, when we set off to do this, right, like any event, you got to know what is your objective. So we sat down with all of our sales leaders as well as sales enablement to really understand, what does each group need, but what do we need as a whole? So we really worked together to decide like what are our key objectives of this event. And we always incorporate that into the website, into the welcome messaging, to really into the content, but also to let attendees aware of what are we trying to achieve here. So this year we ended up with what we called like the 5 C's. If I can remember them, I think we had connection, confidence, clarity, celebration, and then at the center of all that's our customers. So we worked with our sales team to kind of divide, those are what we want to achieve, and then a little description about each, and then really present that to the team and our speakers to make sure that those goals are kind of throughout the entire event.
That's amazing. And I would love actually to know more in details. What have you actually planned this year? So if you could, go through like the actual agenda of the event, because it's amazing to have goals, and it's amazing to go high level and understand, okay, why are we hosting this? Like, what is the messaging for this event? But then how do you then execute actually to make sure that at the end of the event you can answer to those high level questions and achieve those event goals?
Yeah, and with that, right, looking at your goals, also who is attending, who is your audience, and then how much money do you have, right? What is your budget to achieve everything you want to achieve? And so something with Dataminr is now that we're virtual, we were able to open up this event to a lot more people within the company. So this event is really for our go-to-market team. So that's all of sales, all of marketing, all of product globally. But then we also have the opportunity to offer it to other people to join us, right? So we have our finance team, we have our recruiters for our team. So it's really become kind of a very widespread of who our audience is. So with our agenda, thinking about this virtually, right? Everyone's sitting at home. So you want to make sure you have enough breaks. You want to make sure that you're not throwing too much content at them. So a lot of times, we'll pull out some of the content and then do like an on-demand content library so that people can go and watch those on their own on top of the live sessions. So the way that we've set up our agenda, we did it virtually last year. And again, this year, we've set it up for 2 half days. And so thinking through that, right, one of the challenges is that we have a global team. So thinking about time zones, when can people in Australia join? When can people in London join? When can New York join? So working to split that agenda. So the way we've set it up is that our Amy and Norium team will join for live sessions. And then we've also set up live sessions for the Australia team, to kind of make sure that everyone gets that time with the presenters and the leaders in our company. So our agenda kicks off with some optional activities. We're working with Barry's Boot Camp. We have some meditation and yoga set up. We have a day where, if you have a bike at home, join for the Peloton ride. So, just to kind of add some fun while you're sitting at home. That's something that we would have done had we been in person. So that's how kind of the days kick off with these optional activities. And then we start off the event with a keynote from our president and COO. So, and then we flow into a lot of different content, hearing from different leaders. So we're going to hear from like our AI for Good team. We're going to hear from our data research team, from our data engineer team, our partnerships team, product marketing, our CEO and founder speaking. And then on top of that, adding in areas that are part of our goals. So we're adding a keynote with a sales coach, really working on the different types of things that we want to achieve throughout the year for the sales team. We've also brought in a motivational speaker. That's something that we have found that just adds such a level to the event. And so every year, we have that main motivational speaker that we, search for something that of where's the company at, and how does that kind of tie into our goal. So that's a little bit of kind of what the agenda looks like. But, to really make it successful, something that I recommend is a lot to do with your theme, messaging, and branding, right? You really want to make this event come to life. Normally if you were in person, you'd have signage everywhere, right? You'd be giving out gifts. And so, sitting at home, how do we do that, right? So how do, so from the PowerPoint templates to write any videos that we do, how do we incorporate that fun theme and messaging and even in the swag? So this year, our theme is all about accelerating success. It's kind of like an F1 NASCAR theme, all about fueling up. Our planning team, I have these, we have pit crew hats, to get everybody excited. So, really incorporating that theme and bringing it to life and just adding a level of fun. And something else that I think is really crucial in making your event successful is bringing in that level of excitement. So like I talked before, swag. So last year, our theme was level up and it was all around gaming. We did a really fun logo for the event that was kind of Sega. We get to kind of, go with different colors and different themes because it's internal. So we have a lot of fun with that, kind of breaking the branding barriers. And so our swag last year, everyone got a swag kit. We had these fun zip ups in them. We had a Yeti mug. We had gummy bears, I think a chocolate bar, notebook and pen. And then we even added like a fun little note card to it of, and kind of ties into everything. So we've done the same thing this year. And something that I'm excited about and how we connected is we added Hoppier into our swag kits this year because we thought, when you are at an event, we feed you and everyone loves food. At Dataminr, we get free snacks in the office. It's something that really, like, if you work at Dataminr, you love food. So we wanted to add that in there. So it's really fun that we were to add a virtual gift card to everybody to fuel up for the event. So I'm really excited that we were able to use that because it's for our global audience and that they can pick vendors wherever they are. So I think that was something that was really exciting. And then our note card, we're doing that again, where it ties into, fueling up, getting ready for the racetrack. And again, like tying in that theme into the excitement. And so I think everyone getting their swag box before the event just gets them excited and something that they'll always remember and have. I still get on calls where people are wearing these from a year ago. So I think that that's really crucial to, if you can and have the budget, add something like that to your event. And then something that makes it, successful is adding that level of engagement, right? We're sitting virtually at home. Something that we did last year and added in this year is a photo booth, which is just kind of fun. You can use that to take pictures, share on social. I think this year our photo booth has different stickers and frames that you can play with. So just another way to engage. And then something that we incorporated last year that I thought was great for this year that we'll use again. Our team, we use Google Hangout a lot, for big giant team calls, and we always add into the messaging, cheering on people. So something that we incorporated was creating an event Slack channel. And so we use that channel to give updates leading up to the event. And then the day before we open it and release it to everybody, to use that as a way to engage. So cheer on your colleagues, post the pictures from the photo booth. But that really helped us engage last year and, get everyone talking to each other and making them feel like they're a part of the event. So I think that that's something that is really crucial to have is an event feed. And I think that's something that we might even have when we go back to in person, because it's just a way to make the audience a part of the experience. And then another thing that I think is really important is having vendors that are an extension of your team, finding the right vendors and partners to help put on this event. So whether that's your swag partners or your partners, it might be, the technology that's helping you run the event and a production and broadcast team. It might be a team that's building your website or some of those things you might be able to do in-house. But, if there's stuff that you can't do due to bandwidth or whatever, I advise to outsource where you can, but when you find those vendors, really make sure they understand what you guys are trying to achieve and are an extension kind of your event team. That's something that's really helped us along the way. And then leading back into the agenda, right? It's all about the content. You don't want to present too much content. You want to make sure that they're hearing from multiple leaders, within the company. So I think, right, there's all those different levels of pre, during, and post to really make the event engaging.
Wow. I knew this was going to be a really cool event, and I'm so glad that you join us here today, because your level of insights to run like a really engaging team event is really amazing. By the way, if you have any questions for Katrina today, feel free to go to the Q&A or raise your hand if you have anything that that you would like her to go a little bit more in details on. Can you repeat the 5 C's?
Yes, let me see if I can remember them. So connection, so really making sure right across the go-to-market team, we're all, connecting, clarification. So really understanding, what our mission is, confidence, knowing that you have these resources, to be confident to go out and sell. I believe celebration was our fourth one. A lot of this event is celebrating our successes, as a team. How many new client logos did we achieve last year? Who are our top sellers and top performers. So we end the event announcing our President Club winners and giving out sales awards. And then our last one was customer. So at Dataminr, our customer is the center of everything. It's, why we do what we do. So we really wanted to make that known across the team, right? We have all these different C's, but this center is our customer. And so, your goals for your event could be anything, right? But, really look at your audience and what you guys are trying to achieve. And it might just be one goal, right? You might have one or two. It just, the 5 C's kind of just encompassed everything that we were trying to do this year.
Yeah, I think two things that I really like take out of what you just said is like engagement is one thing, and like I would say peer-to-peer learning as well. So engagement is something that I think you really nailed, and one thing that I really take about like getting people to be engaged is like, first of all, in terms of education, it's not only your star speaker or your external speakers. It's like, look at your employees, look at the talent pool that you have among your employees, look at the customer stories that some of the sales leaders could share during that event, and we try to leverage all this knowledge that is currently available within your employee pool and give them a few minutes, like give them the spotlight during the event, and try to really like leverage the knowledge from these different leaders. Not only leaders, because sometimes it can be confused to managers. I think sometimes the people at the operational level, can have so much to teach us, because they are the ones talking with clients all the time and making things happen. So I think both the managerial profiles and the people who execute have so much to teach us. And also think, like having this balance of educational content and fun things, like something that you've nailed as well, like whether it's providing food, swag, having this meditation session that you have hosted. And also maybe something to think about is like, look at your talent pool among your employees. Like maybe somebody can sing really well, somebody's really funny, it's like, and
Exactly.
you can have like these fun sessions, not always inviting external vendors, but maybe somebody has like this hidden talent that they could actually showcase during this event and make it more fun and engaging for everyone.
Agree. Like you could do like a cooking class, you could do maybe a guitar lesson or painting, right? So many people have different hobbies that you can do that kind of as, kind of end of the day of something to bring people together. Something we've done previous is, a virtual game, bringing everyone together. Another great way to engage people is doing breakouts and workshops. That's something that we would do in person. So I think that's something you can also incorporate depending on the amount of time you have, how big your audience is. But that's just another way, right, to do small or groups where you can discuss, or even how like AirMeet has meeting in the tables or adding a speed networking. So there's a lot of different things that you can kind of play with virtually to get people engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, what platform are you going to use? And can you tell us why you've chosen that platform?
Yeah, so we're actually working with a company called Metro Connections who's helping us, bring this event to life. And originally, I believe they were a fully in-person, event company and now had to transition to being virtual, and then also now just doing hybrid with where we're at. So the main functionality we use is Zoom, but it's really neat because we're kind of in like a backstage green room Zoom, and then we're streaming out to our audience. So our audience is joining through a website portal. So we have a website for the event where we have normally a welcome letter from our president, of information about the event, information where the photo booth is, how to use the Slack channel, where the agenda is, and that's where people will join live. So, they're coming through, but they're just seeing a website with someone presenting, but really it's all done through Zoom. But something that I recommend is, really understanding what your audience is comfortable with and used to. And so last year we did Zoom breakouts, and it was something that was really a challenge because our company isn't used to using Zoom. So we really, pivoted actually to the next day and set up our breakouts for day 2 in Google Hangouts because that's what our team was comfortable with using. So I think, there's different technologies you can use throughout your event, but knowing what your audience is most comfortable with instead of throwing something new at them was kind of something that we learned last year of, okay, let's just go with Google Hangouts and people can join from the website, from their calendar. Leaders can jump around, but that's because that's something that we were used to using.
Thank you so much. Another question that comes to mind is, so you mentioned because you have different time zones, right? You're going to run, because your event is actually next week, you're going to run 2 half days events. So is it actually the same content twice, or are you changing the content a little bit between those 2 sessions?
Yeah, so we're actually going to keep the content. So it'll be the same speakers, and it just allows them to have, that one-on-one time with that leader to ask the questions that they want to ask. So I think it depends also, like, how many people do you have in each region, right? Are you able to set up a viewing party with where you're at, right? That was something that we looked in and was hoping to do is, because we're still virtual, but can we do viewing parties in different regions? Can we do different happy hours in different regions? And that might be something that you look at from a budget standpoint if you can't pay to fly everybody someplace, right? But unfortunately with COVID, we weren't able to add that extra layer. But yeah, so the agenda is essentially pretty repetitive in the sense of they just get that session live and get that one-on-one and interaction. But then there's some sessions that we're just keeping live, but we're making sure that everything's recorded. So even if you're someone was meant to be there, like you're in New York and you're meant to be live, but you can't make it, everything's recorded.
Thank you. And a question to the attendees, more like an open question, and please answer in the chat. So we've talked about a lot of different activities to make the event more fun for everybody. Please share your ideas, to make it more either fun or to in terms of the educational content. What are the things that you are doing differently this year, or more like to make it more fun breaks, whether you're providing food or if you have swag, or if you have different things that can make those breaks more fun for everybody. Like, please share your ideas in the chat. We would love to also learn from each other during this event. So Katrina, another question for you. I think event planning is not always super easy, right? So you have your ideas, then you have to have your budget, and then you have to go to your managers and sell all your ideas to align everybody on what's going to happen. So what have been your biggest challenges with planning your 2022 virtual SKO?
Yeah, I think, one of the challenges is just that it's a virtual event, and virtual events are still new. We're still learning as event planners, how to engage people and what are the different technologies and tools out there. And we're continuing to see them evolve, even like things like AirMeet, where you can meet at those different tables and you can do speed networking. So, when we started doing this last year, we're dealing with a lot of companies that were in person and immediately pivoted to virtual. So they were learning as we were learning. We've seen a lot of the capabilities grow from last year to this year and a lot of different technologies. So I think one challenge in itself is just that it's virtually, and, what are the different options out there that you can use and how can you incorporate them into this type of event? Another big challenge was the global time zones. But, we figured out a way to kind of make that work, even though we wish we could have everyone together at the same time. And, another challenge is only having 2 half days, right? So how do you get all that content out there? And that's kind of what I was touching on before, is having that on-demand content library where you can, have, maybe it's not your higher leaders, but, people that are really in the product or working with the customers and getting that opportunity to hear from multiple people within the company. And with that, right, you don't get to see everybody. So something that we did last year that worked well, that we're also doing this year, is throughout registration, we posed a lot of different questions to people, like, have you picked up a hobby during the pandemic? Did you buy a pet during the pandemic? Different questions like that. Like, what have you been up to with your kids? And so, this year with it being the race car accelerating success theme, we've asked like, who's your favorite F1 driver? What's your favorite movie quote from Fast and the Furious? Some fun stuff. And basically we take those answers and we select a good amount of employees to send video recordings of themselves. And then we stitch those together and actually make them openers for the live session. So it's a way, to see what everyone's been up to see a wide variety of, the go-to-market team, and put a face to the name. And so that's just like a fun way that we've learned to incorporate everyone. And the videos are just fun and engaging. And also just to add that level of, casualness, we're having a good time. So I think that's a great way if you have, one, you can get people to create the videos, and two, if you have someone to help, stitch them together, I think that's just a great way to, incorporate getting to see everybody. And I think my two biggest challenges, which I think are different when you're in person, but it's funny virtually, I think registration's a really big challenge. So right now I think we have 450 people, joining this event globally. So making sure, they're in the right breakout room, they're in the right breakout with their leader. We have their mailing address correct, right? All that stuff. We have new hires added, so making sure just managing that registration list can be tedious, and making sure that you ask the right questions in registration so that you can execute, whether it's on swag or anything like that. And then the other challenge is swag. Especially in this virtual world, I think we've pivoted to sending a lot more of these swag kits out. So, I'm competing with quantity with other SKOs, with other holiday parties, with other corporations. So with, where supply and demand is right now, it's really hard to get the items that you want to get. So I think that that's something that can be a challenge in itself. Or if you're doing apparel, right, making sure you have everyone's size correct, making sure you order enough for any new hires. So normally I feel like registration and swag, aren't that tricky, but when you add this level of the virtual world and shipping everything across the world, it can be a challenge.
Thank you. I really love this idea of incentivizing people to share something about their own personal life, and then like shoot that like tell everybody about this, like whether it's as you said, like how did you manage getting getting your kids at home during that many months, or what is the new hobby sport that you've tried during these crazy 2 years. I think B2B does not have to stand for boring to boring. And
Yes.
and the other thing is like with the fact that we all have to work from home, and those events are virtual events, like I can see where you work where you're working from. You can see part of my house, which is not something that we were used to, like sharing something personal, something very intimate about your personal life is not something that in a corporate environment we were ever used to, right? And so I think something that has shifted from this like remote work is like being a little bit more authentic in a way, like being more inclined to share something about your personal lives, or being able to share some of the mistakes that you're making, like just stuff that make you more human. And then that's a really nice thing to achieve, is like how do you humanize your virtual events. And so
Exactly.
yeah, so that's such a great way to share something about your personal life, and then I can then connect with you at a deeper level. I can relate to the challenges that you've been facing. Something I did, and all the attendees know, is like yesterday I sent the wrong link by email. So I was like, hey, event is tomorrow. If you want to invite your friends or teammates, here is the link. And that was the link from our previous webinar. So, and I shared I shared with all attendees. I shared even a LinkedIn post, like sharing to my network, hey, I messed up, that's my first 2022 mistake. And it's not something that I used to do, but now I feel like it's okay. Like we are all humans. Like it's okay to share mistakes. It's okay to share things about your private life. And that's actually a great thing, because people are going to relate to you, and then you're gonna be able to create deeper human relationships with that
Yeah,
kind of
especially,
strategy.
while we're stuck at home, like I miss being in the office so much. I miss in-person events, really getting to watch people enjoy the event, right? All that's kind of taken away as we sit at home. So, right, any way to like humanize it, to connect people, so I'd love to hear, if you guys have ideas, throw them in the chat. But it's really fun. Like we have footage of a colleague in Ireland who really got into like deep sea swimming. And she's in Ireland out, at the sea, talking about it. We have another colleague of mine doing a little cooking show with her 3-year-old in her New York apartment. We have someone in Brooklyn skateboarding with his daughter. We have someone who's into glass making. The pet one was great. We have a colleague in Australia who showed his farm and alpacas. So it's just like, you have no idea what people have been up to, and getting to be able to show that and share that and see that just from your home. I mean, really, I think is going to add this level of connection that like we're all missing right now in our day to day.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you have other ideas, on how to make your virtual events more authentic, more human, feel free to share your ideas in the chat. We want to know. One of my last questions already, Katrina, is, and you talked about a little bit already, but one thing that's very important for team events, obviously for external events, it's more important because they're not mandatory, but attendance rate and getting people to be excited about your SKO and really like any kind of team event is something that you have to do. Like I think you want people to be in the right mindset, like, it's going to be like another half day of virtual meetings.
Yes.
Like you want to destroy this mindset. And it's like, no, like, yeah, you kind of have to attend, but it's going to be really cool. So what are the kind of tactics or tips that you're going to implement to get people excited prior to the SKO?
Yeah, and I think that was something that we learned last year, because we opened it up to the go-to-market team. So it wasn't just the sales team. So we had people being like, what is SKO? What's a sales kickoff? Why do I need to come? We had a lot of those questions. So this year we really made to incorporate, right, promoting the event, right? It's an internal event, but you still have to promote it to the audience and get people excited. So using that Slack channel, we have used that to add in updates about registration and things like that. But now to get everyone excited, it's really fun. We've worked with all of our sales leaders who have all made a little video about what SKO means to them or why are they excited about SKO. And so leading up to the event, we started on Tuesday this week, we're dropping a new video from a sales leader leading up to the event to get everyone excited to really understand why this event is important. What does it mean to the company? What is the mission that we're trying to achieve? So it's just, an opportunity to hear from your leader and multiple sales leaders, as they're not all going to be on the stage. So we're kind of doing this like promo SKO leader video drop, and then, researching what's out there. So we actually have partnered with Cameo for Business. So we're going to have some few special surprises throughout the event, but also leading up and using that to get people excited. So that's, again, right, finding, what is out there and what can you use to hype people up. But yeah, it's another part of that pre, during, post event strategy. You really have to get people excited and let them know like what can they expect and what are they walking into.
I love how something that's really common with everything that you're doing is like not being the sole creator of event content, right? So leveraging here again your sales team to record themselves and showing that they're also excited, so that the team who knows them really well gets also excited. So I think something that not always easy to achieve is like co-creating content, which can start with like, okay, what are the main themes of the event? What are the main topics that people want to know about? I think like asking this kind of questions, like to all the people that you want to invite to your SKO, is like, hey, what are the theme? What are the topics that you would like to discuss? During that event, is something that can help also getting people excited, because at the end of the day, it's also about the content, what is going to be discussed. But that's really awesome how you are always able to kind of leverage everybody, or like having the help of everybody to co-create content, to share stories and share the excitement. So That's really cool. I'm going to Lisa was saying, name that tune was super fun. Internal event we did. Name that tune. Is it like a game where you have different songs and you have to guess what song it is? Is that holiday
I want to
songs?
guess that's what it is. It sounds like that.
Nice. Very
Holiday
cool.
songs.
I have one last question for Katrina. Is what are your event trends predictions for 2022? I'm thinking maybe hybrid or something around these lines. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think you could probably ask any event planner. That's something that's constantly on our mind is what is upcoming next. We've gone through a lot of going full virtual, hoping we're back to in person, back to virtual, this constant pivot. But I think something that I've learned is that virtual is here to stay. I don't think virtual's gone away. I think we've really learned, the power of a virtual event, the power of a webinar, the power of hosting a roundtable where people can just join from, their desk for lunch and not have to do something after work. Um, and I've learned that virtual, I think, is the best for educational programs, right? Coming and learning. And I do think we'll start to see that hybrid, especially when it comes to education. Something that we've really learned with our sales team is that there was a moment where we thought, well, will we ever need an in-person event again? But we really saw the power of in-person, right? By not having it, right? It's so important to have that face-to-face discussion, have that engagement, and so especially as a seller. So, when you're at a photo or a trade show booth and someone just walks by and says, hey, what do you do? Right? You don't get that in the virtual environment. From the virtual trade shows, it's been very hard to get people engaged and tour the virtual trade show floor. And so we've really learned for us, the way we use virtual is very much for an educational program or a way to do a small discussion group. And then, hope to have in person and go to trade shows where they are safe. And, I think we'll see a lot with, COVID policies around events and how in-person events are set up. I think is going to slightly change, but I think we'll definitely see hybrid, continue, but I really think that that's really set for this educational world, right? Like if you can't go to a trade show, then it's great that you have the option to sit there and watch the conference and learn. But then how do we get those people to go and visit the virtual booth? I think that's something that we're always going to have a challenge with. And that's where, you need that need for a conference where people fly, they leave their desk, they get to really fully immerse themselves in an event. So I think we'll continue to see virtual, hybrid, and in person. I don't think any of those are going away. We're just learning kind of the strengths and what's capable with each, and how we should use those different formats in our strategy.
That was pure gold. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Katrina. That was really amazing. I'm just gonna give a few more moments. If you have any questions for Katrina, feel free to ask them now, either to the Q&A or if you want to raise your hand and come on stage. But so I'm gonna give you a few more moments here. So thank you so much, Katrina, for joining us today. One thing that I wanted to mention, actually a few things. So this chat was recorded. So we'll send the link if you want to rewatch it or send it to your colleagues who could not make it today. Another thing is after this session ends, we'll have a few more minutes to network. I think that's what Katrina mentioned is like, yes, the main goal of virtual events is education and content. But if you are also able to make people network and meet each other in a more authentic way, then you have, the magic recipe. And so that's what we're going to do. After this, you have either the virtual roundtables, or we're also going to try something new, which is one-on-one speed networking. So if you join this, you will be able to match with somebody from this event and discuss with that person during 4 or 5 minutes. And then after that, you can match with somebody else. So one last thing is if you want to provide food and drinks to everybody at your virtual SKO or at any team event that is either virtual or hybrid, which means people are working from home across the US, across Canada, across Europe, across all different countries, that's going to be tricky if you don't use Hoppier. So I'm just going to play like a quick video to show you a little bit more about what Hoppier is.
Say hello to Hoppier. Don't host team events that put people to sleep. Say hello to Hoppier, the easiest way to keep your team engaged, build company culture, and show every employee that they matter. Using a virtual credit card, your employees can choose from hundreds of gifts, lunches, charities, rewards, and more. Just create a program, brand your experience, and set a spending allowance. With just one click, you can easily send each team member a unique link to redeem their rewards. And with millions of vendors around the world, Hoppier works wherever your employees do. Hoppier, engaged beyond the screen.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Katrina, thank you so much again. If you want to discuss with Katrina for 15 more minutes, you can join the networking session. Katrina is going to be there. I will be there. So we look forward to meeting you. Thank you so much for joining today, and looking forward to meeting you at the networking session. Bye.
Bye.